testify just how deep and just how high is the love I found in Christ. Oh, what a love I found in Him. Oh, what a love.
Good afternoon. I got the thumbs up, so we are live. Good afternoon. If you're here tonight, it's a Monday night here. You are attending the CARES program. Every Monday night, we have our Expert Speakers series, where we have a guest that joins us with personal and professional experience in the field of substance abuse. And I'm very honored and glad to have our guest tonight. What you'll see here on Monday nights is us gathering around, building a community of people who have had experiences in recovery. And CARES stands for Caregivers and Relatives Empowered for Support for Those with Substance Misuse. The goal is for those family members that are out there that say, we know about the treatment programs that are out there, we know about the 12-step programs that are out there, but where's the community for us as family members, as people who love our loved ones? Where do we gather our information? What do we do? Where do we process all the different emotions? This is a space for that, and we gather every Monday night. If you were here last week or online perusing on our website, you'll notice that we had a speaker, Dylon Guinn, who came in from Ranch House Recovery, sharing his experience in building a recovery center. And we're very privileged to have his son join us tonight, Dylon Guinn, to share his story in his own words and help us understand a little bit about what the experience is like from a son's perspective and the things that family members who want to build support can look into to help their loved ones. So with that, I reminded Brandon that despite what you hear in this microphone, I'm the one who feels very nervous. So I tend to start getting chatty and asking questions when I get nervous. And Dylon said the most amazing thing, which he said, we'll both be nervous together. So you're a mentor, you're a father, you're a man with 4 years of sobriety and experience in the recovery field. So it is a privilege to hear from you. So
thank you for having me.
Thank you. Well, I'll kick off. Tell us a little bit about your journey in this space of recovery. What brought you in here, and where did life take you, in your own words?
First off, I was born in Lubbock, Texas. I lived there until I was about 12, and then we moved to Austin, and I kind of grew up in the Austin area. But just a brief history, when I was a child, my parents divorced when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. My mother struggled with addiction, my entire life. But when I was a child, I knew something was going on, but I was so young, I didn't know what it was. But I knew it didn't make me feel good. From there, we moved to Austin. Things were bad. I didn't have the worst childhood. There was always tension between my father and I. I think we're very similar in a lot of ways, so we butted heads quite a bit. And I was also starting to get in trouble when I was about 14, 15. I had gotten in I broke my arm playing football. It was the first game of the year, and that was my first experience with pain pills. And I remember feeling like the first time I took it, there was this hole that I always had in my stomach, this knot, and I remember it just gave me this sense of freedom. That wasn't really when my addiction started just yet, but that was like my first taste of it. My father and I had gotten in an argument one night, and I had to run away. I ran away for probably about 3 months. I didn't come back, and that was when I kind of started to get in trouble and, fall off track. I didn't really care about school anymore. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and, doing, weed and, different drugs. Fast forward a little bit, I was at a party and somebody asked if I wanted to try heroin. Naturally, you would think somebody would run from that, but I said yes. And it was like for the first time in my life, I was okay. I didn't feel all my anxiety was gone. I wouldn't say I was really depressed yet at that age, but there's definitely a lot of sadness that I felt. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I did anything and everything to get my drugs. I didn't care. I burned a lot of bridges. I pushed away a lot of childhood friends.
No, and Dylan, that's a story that we hear often from a lot of people of the anxiety.
Yeah.
That drives them, and the anxiety comes from a lot of different places for different people. For you, having looked back on time, what were some of those things that kind of pushed you, the things that were triggering you to feel that anxiety?
Probably a few different things. The relationship with my dad, and again, I'm in a place now in my life where I can take ownership and, I see my part in everything. So I no longer have that blame that I had towards my father and my mother, but I blame them for my addiction for a long time. But some of the things I guess was, I never felt good enough in my father's eyes. The relationship with my mother, she was actively using. I think that, that was a big trigger for me as well. And I think just simply wanting to fit in, wanting to be a part of something. I didn't really, I don't know, it's hard for me to express some of these things sometimes because I don't want to feel like I'm putting blame on people. But my mother, I know that she was doing the best she knew how. Something my grandfather always says, if they knew better, they would do better. And, but yeah, there was a lot of tension there. Even as a young child, coming home and, my mom would be blacked out, passed out on the couch. My little brother, the backyard would, be flooded because he had the hose on, just, doing stuff. And, I had to grow up pretty quick. And, I think I was resentful, about that for a long time too. So I think those things are definitely, triggers for me. Just wanting to fit in, just wanting to be a part of a connection.
And oftentimes when parents see that and they see that kids are going or spiraling down a road that they didn't plan for them, they didn't want them to go, their reaction is to want to change things. Mm-hmm. And what things worked? What things didn't work when it came to your family wanting to be involved to try to help out?
That's a good question. I don't know, with my family, they always believed in me, I think is the most crucial part of it all. Even when I didn't believe in myself. When I was at my lowest lows, they still believed in me. I think some other things financially, I'm grateful that my dad wasn't enabling in that fashion. because I think if he was, I'd probably be dead today, honestly, if I had access to, money like that. I see a lot of people that are still out there, sick, using today that, like one of my other good friends, he's, a trust fund kid, and that money never runs out, and he'll sober up for a little bit, but he's right back at it. His family hasn't let him reach that bottom that he needs to reach. And as hard as that is for families to do, I haven't had to do that, but, being on the other side of it, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Well, the whole journey of recovery is one that is challenging, no matter what age you are or where you're coming from, and whatever it was that caused you to start using, right, those anxieties. I often hear people say that when you stop using, you realize the reason why you started.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes those things, they're not resolved.
Right.
When you started taking those active steps into recovery, and what was the process for you in rebuilding the relationship with your family?
First off, just working on myself. What really brought me to my knees, I think my true first step experience, like when I really first chose to give sobriety a shot, was when I was living back in Lubbock. I had been getting high with my mom, which, as sick of a thing as that is to say, it was the first time I connected with my mother on any sort of level like that. But, sorry, I got off track. Can you say the question?
Just, the rebuilding of a relationship,
just, starting to work on myself and take ownership of my life. When I realized I couldn't put the blame on anyone else anymore, is when the growth, started to change for me. Because I was a dumb kid for a long time, and it was easy to blame everyone else for my problems. That was when, the growth first started. And then, working through the steps, the 12 steps were such a big part of my recovery in the beginning, and they still are. Going through the work, working on resentments, finding that connection with God, because I never had that growing up. I wouldn't say like we were an atheist house, but God just wasn't ever a discussion. And so that was foreign to me. And I've done lots of different things to, seek that. I've looked into the Red Road, just different things to try to open that door for me. And it's led me to, now I'm a Christian. I go to church with my wife every Sunday. And I'm not perfect. I still struggle with the Word of God. But I just continue to stay open around all that. And it's helped me a lot, because when I come to church, I fully understand it sometimes, but I can look around the room and I can see how connected everybody else is. And sometimes that's enough for me.
You talk about connection and talked about early on trying to find a place to fit in. And drugs, alcohol, substances, they tend to be a place where people numb the pain, find a connection, find a community, but there's a lot of negativity that comes from that. You took a brave step in coming here, sharing your story, and walking, having us be able to walk with you through this journey as you're repeating to us. Had every reason to say no. Mm-hmm. Why did you agree to come up here and share your story?
This is what keeps me sober. Honestly, it's doing the stuff I don't want to do. He gave me a couple chances to back out, and I really wanted to take it. This is why I'm sober today. you know, by me being here and sharing my story, you know, even if it just helps one person, you know, that's enough. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for any chance I get to be of service and, you know, help where I can.
Dylon, what makes your story very unique among the speakers that we have? You know, we have people that share their story. They've built places, they've built programs, they've been therapists. But many people out there, our community of caregivers and relatives, they don't get a chance to have this conversation with their son or with their daughter. And they don't get to hear from them what they need to know to help, to support. So to the family out there, the caregivers who are wondering, you know, what do you tell a parent? What is it that you think would have helped you when you're in the midst of addiction? What would you have wanted them to hear or know?
Yeah, I think again, I mean, just don't stop believing in them. You know, continue to be that ear. I mean, even if it's stuff you don't want to hear. I mean, it's a tricky one, you know, because you don't want to enable in any sort of way. But just knowing that there's somebody out there who cares, it makes all the difference in the world. I remember I was homeless in Los Angeles. I lived on Skid Row. And I mean, I looked rough. And I can't remember where I was walking. I was going somewhere, and a lady walked by me and told me that I had really pretty eyes. And I just started bawling, crying, because it was the first time I felt like somebody had noticed me in months. And because of that, like, everything just seemed to work out. Like, it wasn't a week I had found. I mean, it gave me the strength I needed. I found a place that got me a bus ticket. And, you know, I went down to Lubbock. You know, I wish my story, you know, the sobriety started there, but, you know, it's all part of my journey. You know, I wouldn't do anything differently because it's shaped me into the person that I am today. And I have a powerful story that allows me to help people.
And Dylon, oftentimes people share that same story of recovery isn't, it happened today and there, it's perfect. There are stops, there are slips, there are relapses. And oftentimes people, when they talk about that part of their life, they always mention the word shame. Yeah. So what does that word represent to you, and how do you manage through the shame of a relapse or slips?
I mean, shame kept me sick for a long time. You know, I've always struggled with insecurities, not feeling like I'm enough. And again, these are all things that I create in my own head. You know, none of it's true. But the shame, you know, relapse has been part of my story. But through every experience, you know, I've learned so much. And coming back into the rooms, it's sometimes hard to face people and let them know that, you know, I relapsed, you know, because you feel like they look at you different, or like you're no longer, you know, part of the crowd, or like you have nothing to offer. And I had to get over that story because while, you know, I may have relapsed, my runs got so much shorter. You know, I was only out there for, you know, a week or a few days. But the person I was before is still there. You know, I still have something to offer. And I have to give that up to God, you know, and surrender it, because the shame will eat at me. And it's one of those things that, you know, still to this day, you know, it still comes up. But I mean, honestly, the only solution I've found is, you know, giving it to God.
Well, you shared too, when we were having conversation, that you not only celebrated 4 years of sobriety, but those 4 years were celebrated last Thursday. So you,
Thank you.
I think without a doubt, anyone hearing that there's this applause, and I hope that was caught here for people online to hear that there's an audience here that celebrates with you and how difficult the journey is to maintain that sobriety. And I guess my question for any family member out there that dreams of seeing this moment, of seeing their child or their loved one, a spouse or parent, hit that milestone of 4 years of sobriety, and they dream of seeing that moment. What does your family do for you that's working really well to help support you on your path to recovery?
I don't know. I mean, we just have a relationship today. I can pick up the phone and, I probably talk to my dad, twice a day, sometimes. And same, that goes for anyone in my family. I have a relationship with them that I never had before. I have something to offer the relationship. And I mean that just, mentally. They just support me that way, I guess.
Well, I want to ask a lot of questions about that relationship and how it's different. But I'll also mention, too, that next Monday, you and your father are going to be sharing this stage together. So it's going to be a great opportunity for us to go back to conversation we had with your father last week, the conversations happening this week, and then be able to ask the both of you questions about where your relationship is now. But your journey now, it's in a really good place. And now you are serving also as a mentor to others. How much of that space where now you're pouring into others and sharing with others, how has that changed your life?
It's made me a better person. I'm not, I was so selfish in my addiction. I only cared about myself. It was me, me, me. And now it's like, I truly enjoy getting to be there for people and getting to show up. I have a family today. I'm married. I have a beautiful daughter. Showing up, really.
So you mentioned family.
Yeah.
The family that we grew up with, the family that we create now in our future. And what are you creating for your family right now? What are things that you feel you're doing differently for your daughter, for your wife, that you wish may have happened as you were growing up?
I think just being emotionally available. Because I didn't really have any of that growing up. Nothing against my dad, but he had so much going on, and emotionally, I think is so big. And it's funny too. I'll even see my dad coming out in me sometimes. And not that that's a bad thing, but the anger part is, I guess, what I relate to that. Because my dad suffered from a lot of anger issues growing up, and I was scared of him. And so I think just trying to be available for him, whenever I can.
Community is a word that came up here. What is a community around your family when it's working well and it's helping someone that's going through addiction, and a family that's trying to figure out what's the best direction to help someone that's going through addiction? What does that community look like? What should they be doing for that family?
To create that community?
Or for any community that's around them, whether it's church or extended family members. But if there are people around that family who are also asking the question, we want to support, we just don't know how.
Right.
What's your advice to them?
Drawing a blank, sorry. Just being there for them, being patient, because it's a journey. It's not an overnight deal, and I think being able to provide a safe place for that process. yeah, and then any resources that you can help find, or but also too, not trying to force it on them, because that can push people away too. Yeah, it's kind of, it can be delicate, so just delicate. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask just one more question. And for those who are watching online and for those who are present here, this is the part where we hand over the microphone. So we'll have a microphone going around here. We'll have a volunteer passing around. And if you have a question, please raise your hand so that we can identify where you're at. Make sure that we get that microphone to you. But as people are preparing for their questions, I guess my last question is, for the fathers, for the mothers, siblings that might feel shame or guilt or all sorts of thoughts and feelings, kind of like what you're talking about. A lot of this stuff is in our head, right? But they feel like I didn't do it right, or I got angry, right? And I should have done something different. A lot of the should haves that come up. As a son who has gone through that journey, has seen all the things that they've tried, and is now on the other end of that, what do you say what do you say to the family member that's still struggling with that, feeling like I don't know if I'm doing the right thing right now?
Just know you're gonna make mistakes. Again, it goes back to just doing the best you know how, in that moment, and just continue to, don't hold it in, continue to talk about it, continue to reach out. There's so many resources these days. I feel like even 10 years ago, I feel like the stigma has changed a lot. And so I feel like people are also a lot more open now to want to help and to, want to offer those services.
Well, we're going to be passing around a microphone here. We'll have a volunteer that will help us out with the microphone going around. So if you have a question, please do raise your hand. We'll give space for about 2 or 3 questions here. But again, Dylon, your story and what you're sharing with us here is an opportunity for people to hear something that's very healing and hopeful for them, whether they've gone through it or they're going through it right now. So it's an honor to hear your voice, and we're going to give space for a few questions here. Okay, we got 2 questions. Oh, 3. So,
what was it like knowing that God was with you the whole time? What is it like now?
Oh, like now? It's just freeing. I tried to control and white knuckle everything, for so long, and just finally realizing how powerless I actually was, it was so freeing. And I also got to remember though too, because I can get in these places of doubt, and I don't know, it's almost like I'm like the addict is, trying to trick me again. So I got to realize that my faith may not, be as strong as it was the day before. And it's not always going to be this glory, feel good connection. Sometimes it's going to be painful, and, just going through that.
Well, I'm so happy for you and also for your family, for you to be celebrating 4 years of sobriety. Congratulations. My question is the obvious one that every parent or loved one wants to ask. What made the difference for you? How did you get to that one time when you were ready for sobriety and willing to do the work?
I was so miserable. For me, I got to a place where I didn't even know who I was anymore. I couldn't differentiate reality from what was really going on, and I was genuinely terrified, and I had enough. Honestly, And it was scary, so much, because you use for so long and you numb for so long. When you get sober, it's like all that comes, rushing back. All that pain you were trying to suppress and, keep down, comes up. And so it's very overwhelming. But it was also, it's hard to put into words. By feeling that, I knew I was, I don't know how to quite say it, but I had enough,
We have time for one more question. We got a question. Oh, I thought I saw a hand go up. Sorry. Well, let me say, Dylon, thank you. Thank you again for sharing your story. And if I can, I think I'm going to echo what I hope everyone is thinking here, that you are seen here. And your story is felt by us here. And we're grateful that you are here to share that with others, grateful for what you're doing to mentor in the community and helping others. And it's a powerful story and a journey, and there's many more details that I know you share, and just not enough time to cover everything. It's a privilege to hear your story. We heard from your father last week. We heard from you this week. Next week, we're very excited to hear from the both of you as you're sharing this stage, and especially about your relationship. And as we're talking to the both of you about what's changed, what continues to change, and what you see as something that you're building towards in the future. So thank you. I'm not going to say where you're driving from, but you've got about a 3-hour commute. And you took the time to be here with us. So please just know what an incredible honor it is for you to come here and share time and space with us. So let's give Dylon another round of applause. So thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, as we wrap up tonight, for those online and those here in person, just a reminder that the Texas Cares program is something that was built with the vision and mission to be able to serve the family members and provide stories. There are 3 key words that if you think of our program, you're going to think of 3 things. One is community. That's what we build here on Monday nights, is the opportunity for communities to come together and people to hear their stories and connect with others. The second word that you want to hear when you come here is education. So it's knowledge. It's what do I do? What did I not understand? What can I take with me so that I can carry forward and continue to grow and learn when I support my family member? And the last one is support. So a space where you can find what you need and know I can call someone, or I can find something on the website and figure out where I go next when I'm ready for help. So community, education, and support are the 3 key things that are part of what defines our program here. We're here every Monday night. You've already heard me share what next Monday has in store, but that continues every Monday. So please, the only thing we ask is if you're here in the room, share this with others that are nearby. And if you think it would benefit them, please invite them over to Monday night so they can hear these stories as well. And for those online, just know that we will be posting these sessions here in their full entirety online. We'll also have clips. Please help us out by liking and following on social media and sharing these clips so that others can benefit from it. And if it's helpful for them to also join online as well. So all of that said, we're going to end the same way we end every Monday night, which is if it is your first time here tonight, online or in person, and we have one simple message for you. Welcome home. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next Monday.